The goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a song.
Yeah.
I remember this one time, I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, The Natural, a blues prodigy in Quinn Sullivan. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Hello, and I'm your co-host, David Moore.
And this is...
your next favorite band.
Yes, it is, David. Yes, it is. We are so honored tonight to have absolutely such a talented guest. But before we get to that, our final announcement for the No Planet B Jamboree.
Our final announcement. That sounds unfortunate with it being the No Planet B Jamboree.
That's true. I'm gonna workshop that and come up with some better wording. But we've kind of announced that there were organizations like Reverb and Music Declares Emergency that were going to feature what the good work that they do. We have some musicians like Lorena McKennett and Cicada Rhythm and Tioga and the Darling Sons who have given us music to play. El Huri and Blair Crimmins are coming on the show to share some of their music and some of their passions in these areas. And we have two headliners. We have one we kind of already teased just because we were so blown away by it. But when we interviewed Sean Kelly, we were able to record him playing 6 songs from the samples that all have to do with like the earth and nature, of course, by that very title.
Right.
But he was just so gracious to allow us to record him to play specific for our event. So it's basically an exclusive solo acoustic performance of those 6 songs, and that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to be able to do that. He really set aside a good chunk of time and spent it with us, and it's paying dividends because this is going to be great for that performance.
Yep. Absolutely. And then the other one is live and in person. We're going to have Pepper Wine.
Oh, pals of the show, Pepper Wine.
Pals of the show. I think they've been a part of almost everything we've done, and I'm wearing their shirt tonight in honor of all this. But thank you to Kelly and Brees and Julian, and they are basically the headliners of the No Planet B Jamboree. So either in person, Courtyard of the Sun Inn, Sunday, April 16th. 2:00 is basically when we're going to go live with like the episode portion till about 3:15, 3:30.
That's Eastern time for
time.
anybody planning accordingly.
Yes. And then 3:30, somewhere in there, will be where we'll transition to the performances. And then whenever it goes to, it goes to. But we'll be available both in person, free of charge. Come on down, listen to the show and to the music. If you're in the Bethlehem reachable area, and if you're not, just tune in and enjoy the
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, too, for more context as well.
That's what so you always keep me honest on this stuff. I'm just dealing, and you're more of the grounded force of this duo. So we then just kind of like wrap that up. Thank you to the Sun Inn and to Godfrey Daniels, two of the sponsors of the day. And, just hoping that people tune in either on the stream or come in to the Courtyard Live and celebrate, all of that, good effort and good work and things that are being done to try and hopefully turn the tide on climate change and the different things that we can do to help be more environmentally friendly.
It's gonna be a fun afternoon.
It sure will. It sure will. So let's turn to our guest, shall we?
Let's do that.
Let's do that. So we have today, like I said in the opening there, an absolute prodigy. There's such an amazing story here of just how naturally talented Mr. Quinn Sullivan is. And we're going to feature some of his music here. David will do a bio and we'll bring him on the show. So here is off of his more recent release, In a World Without You.
Quinn Sullivan received his first guitar at 3 and gained national attention when he appeared on the Ellen Degeneres show at the age of 6. Quinn has been touring the world since he was 11 years old, playing storied venues such as Madison Square Garden and the Hollywood Bowl, and has shared the stage with his mentor, Buddy Guy, as well as Carlos Santana and others. His performance experience includes appearances on national television programs such as The Late Night program with Jimmy Fallon, Conan, and The Oprah Winfrey Show. Cyclone, his debut in 2011, was released when he was 11 years old, and he's released a total of 4 albums, with this track from the 2021 Wide Awake being his most recent and showing sophistication as a songwriter. Quinn states, quote, "I want to make music that moves people. That is the definition of success for me."
Great definition of success right there. Let's bring this back up a little bit and enjoy some more Quinn. See how effortless he is with this guitar. It's like an extension of another limb. Anyway, welcome to the show, Quinn Sullivan.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Quinn, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for such a warm welcome. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, I mean, it's an honor to have you on the show. Truly, I mean, it's just an amazing talent that you have, and it's on display here. We're gonna let that keep going, and just even the stories you can share of these other just absolute titans you've been connected to, and just can't wait to dig into some of that. But just maybe start here. I mean, like, this video is cool, and some of the other members of your band, like, if you want to talk about any of that, it's a very cool video.
Yeah, thank you. This video was shot in a place called The Building, which is a studio in Marlboro, New York, that my friend Lee Falco owns, and that's actually Lee on drums.
Cool.
And we shot that 2 years ago, right before Wide Awake came out. And this is one of the singles, In a World Without You. And this is one of my favorite songs on the album. This one's very Latin, Santana inspired.
Sure.
And it's a really fun song to play live. We've been having a lot of fun with it and getting it really into it live. And we always play it last in the show. And it's been really cool. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that solo that was part of this obviously is probably much longer live.
Much longer. Actually, we've been doing an extended version of that as of recent. So it's just one of those fun songs that you can really get into live and sink your teeth into, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the groove to it is, as you mentioned, Santana. I was going to mention it's got it's like a Latin swing thing going on. It's a cool track.
Lots of percussion. I mean, it's definitely when I was writing the song, I had totally had that in mind. Yeah.
And we are getting some good commentary here from your Facebook channel here. A lot of people tuning in to say, look, greetings from Peru. Thank you for featuring the awesome artist Quinn Sullivan.
All right.
Can't wait to hear you play. And then this is true too. You just recently had a birthday, right?
I'm 24. Yeah. I just
it was like 3-4 days ago.
I March 26th.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But a lot of people wishing you happy birthdays and belated birthdays and such. So
No,
it's a
thank you,
good
everybody.
spirit going on tonight. So
All
thank you
right.
all for tuning in, and keep the comments coming. If I can get to any of the questions you guys might have, happy to share them. So, but yeah. So happy birthday, Quinn.
Thank you very much.
And I guess so. One thing we typically do on this show is to kind of take it back and go to the beginnings. And for you, it's very early beginnings. So from the sounds of it, basically get a toy guitar, or at least a guitar, at 3 years old, and you're able to basically listen to music and transfer it to the guitar at that age with basically no training.
Pretty much. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 3. I picked up a guitar when I was 3. My parents, for one Christmas, they gave me a First Act acoustic guitar. First Act is actually no longer a company anymore, but they used to make full size guitars, but they also made really good kid guitars. And yeah, they gave me one of those, and I started just messing around with it around the house. I mean, I was always very into music growing up. My parents were playing me all different kinds of music as a kid, from the Beatles to the Allman Brothers. They're very big classic rock fans, so they had a lot of that going, so all the time. And
Yeah. And your father played the drums.
yeah, he
And
did. He
yeah,
did. He still
and
does. He still does sometimes, but
that's awesome.
he was in a Grateful Dead cover band actually for about 25 years.
Uh-huh.
So I, as a kid, was a little kid deadhead at the time. Still am, and very inspired by Jerry Garcia and that whole
Sure.
thing. And so yeah, and yeah, I was always very into music. I was always looking at DVDs, and at that time it was actually VHS, and
Sure.
I was just watching different people play. I was listening to like they'd put like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or the Allman Brothers and just have it on the screen, and I would just be absorbing myself in it like a just an obsessive kid. I mean, a
Sure.
lot of kids when they grow up, I feel like they get into baseball or little league or like football or basketball. I was just all about music growing up. That was
Right.
my thing, and I was just very, very, very obsessed with it. And a couple of years later, when I was around 5, I started to take lessons full time. I
Yeah,
started to get
is that Brian Cass?
Brian Cass. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did your homework. Yeah, Brian is still a great friend of mine and such a lovely human. And yeah, and yeah, he started me on just playing chords. I would just go in there and he would show me the proper ways to play chords because I was trying to figure it out on my own, but I
Sure,
don't
but with
think
your
I was.
ear.
Yeah, I always had a pretty good ear growing up. Like that was
Mhm.
always the thing that I noticed. Like I could always like hear what the right note should be. Um, and that was always a thing. So, but he just, helped guide me and help, make me play chords the right way.
Yep.
Sure.
And yeah, so I'd do that every week. I'd go every Thursday. My dad would bring me, and I'd go in there, and he would just show me stuff, and I began to learn chords pretty quickly.
Sure.
And then I decided I wanted to learn full songs because I think I was probably getting bored with just learning chords and that kind of stuff. I was like, let me learn a song.
Yeah.
There's
So
only so much itsy bitsy spider you can play before you start to
yeah,
become
yeah. There's only so many times you can just play a G chord, Um, but yeah, man, so like I would just walk in there and I'd go, hey, like I want to learn how to play Blackbird. I want to learn how to play Twist and Shout. I was a
Sure.
huge Beatles fan, so that's all
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
wanted to play was the Beatles. And so he would say, okay, this is how you do this and this is how you do that. And I would practice at home, and I would go back this next week and start to play it and gradually get better and better. And that was it. I think the key to my guitar playing was just because I did it all the time.
Mhm.
I didn't really know anything else at that time. I didn't really have any other interests. I mean, I would play outside with my friends. I would do normal kid stuff.
Sure.
But I was playing music a lot of the time. I was
Yeah.
definitely like involved with music like every day of my life. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I actually have the news featured you basically when you were around 5. What was it? TV 50
Channel 56. Yeah.
56 in like the suburbs of Boston, right?
Yeah. They came. So a little bit of background on this. So they saw me. So the news that you guys are about to play, they saw me play at this festival that gets put on the town over for me called the Apple Peach Festival.
Awesome.
And it's an Apple festival that they have local bands play. And I was one of the bands that played. And we did a Beatles tribute show with my dad on drums, myself
Right.
on guitar, and a couple of his musician friends that played around with me a lot as a kid.
Awesome.
On stage and stuff. And so anyways, a guy that worked for this local news TV show was at the show, and he saw me and he was like, "Oh man, this would be so cool to do a story on this kid." So there you go. Here's the clip.
So that was a cool setup. I did edit it down just for time. Basically, I featured only the parts where you're playing, and I just think it's so cool because now people are going to get a good picture in their head about what 5-year-old Quinn was all about. So here's he, and you even play the Blackbird stuff in there, which I just think is incredible.
Oh man!
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
I can't play guitar at all. I play drums, but his guitar,
there's Papa,
is just amazing. I don't know where it comes from.
He would listen to a song on the radio and play some chords back at 3.
Quinn's parents say a children's band called the Toe Jam Band helped foster his talent. That's how he learned Lawnmower Man on the mandolin.
I just know how to do it. Like, I just learn it on my own.
And there it is. I mean, just cute as a little button, but I mean, clearly super talented.
Oh man.
It's not really. I mean, I know that the repetition and the practicing is how you got to where you got to ultimately, but the raw talent is, I mean, like just incredible.
Oh, thank you. I mean, watching that back is just so trippy because I'm just like, that feels like so many moons ago.
Of course, and you've you're not reinvented yourself, but you've gone through such maturity and iterations of that probably is super moons ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think when you're an artist,
20 years at this point in time, that is an evolution. I mean,
it's wild, man. I think when you're an artist, I mean, I don't know if I would have even called myself an artist at 3, but I mean, like, 4 or 5 years old. I mean, you're kind of put out there as this little kid that can do this thing and play guitar and sing and all this stuff. And, there's a lot of like navigating, and I'm sure we'll get to this as we continue on this conversation, but there's a lot of like navigating. There's a lot of like figuring stuff out, and everything is moving at a fast pace. So you're kind of just like trying to figure it all out. And a lot of people ask me like, well, how did you handle all of this as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like any kid, I think like when you're just living, you're not thinking about anything, you're just kind of there. You're just like day by day living. I mean, from ages like 2 to 10 is probably like the least stressful time in your life. So you're not really thinking about anything. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm on stage. Oh, I'm here. Yep. I knew it was cool, but I don't think until much later on did I realize how very unique that kind of situation is. Yeah,
sure.
I think the most important thing to take from that video clip is the lower third, where they clearly identify it as Quinn Sullivan plays guitar. Just for anybody that was not aware of what was happening in that video.
Right. Yeah.
It's about as good as one time I saw Chance the Rapper, and it said underneath it, rapper.
You have to say it the obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that is his job, but it was also in the title. So, But yeah, that is just a very, very cool glimpse there, and I'm glad I was seeing you kind of have those moments there. It's like, oh, cool, we did it. It was just kind of funny. And if I find it amazing too, that one part where you're just like, I just know. Like, I think that's the other hard part is raw talent that you can't teach. Like, you can't even express it. Like, it's almost confusing to get asked the question. I have to think, like, for somebody else who isn't a natural musician plays those 10,000 hours and finally achieves it can talk to somebody about, well, here's how I got there. But when you just are naturally arrived there, you just can't describe it. Like the way you said it as a kid is probably the best way to say it, is that you just know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think sometimes there's a lot of natural ability that you have and that you just sort of are born with, I guess. And that makes you go, okay, like I don't really need to think much about this. This is just something that I do, and this is just something that I am. Yeah, and that works up until you're about 16, 17. And then to me, like that's when the real work kind of came.
Sure. Yeah.
It was like, okay, this like my voice changed sounding the same I did when I was 10, you know. So I think certain things like that come into play as you get older, and you're kind of like, okay, like,
yep,
I got to figure this out. But the guitar playing, yeah, the guitar playing part of it, luckily was always just felt natural. I mean, I just always played. I always played guitar, watching TV, you know, hanging out with friends. I mean, like, you know, every time that I could think about anything in my life, the guitar was nearby, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Birthday parties, everything. I could always see the guitar, you know, and like, but it was totally like a healthy obsession. And my parents, you know, as you saw in that video, I mean, they were very, very, very supportive of my passion, you know. And I as I grow a bit older, I'm still only 24, but I mean, like, just seeing how you know, how thankful and grateful I am for that, you know, because not every kid may get that opportunity from their parents and that support level to the level that they've given to me. So I think, you know, I owe them a lot for that, because I'm not too sure if I would have been still doing this if it today, if it wasn't for their just support and they're like, yeah, do it and go for it.
Yeah.
You know,
There's another element to obviously what they're doing too, is they're definitely keeping you grounded as well. Because you see other young musicians, very talented people, flame out, and you know, and that's not happening to you. I mean, you're still as humble as you were in all these videos from before, and clearly that's the parents, you know, basically just, you know, insisting upon that, or teaching you that, or leading by example, whatever it was, through all of this. And we're going to just get some pretty bonkers experiences that you've had that could have had you go, you know, off the stratosphere, but you're still just as humble as before, and I think it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with, I think, just the people that I've been luckily surrounded by my whole life.
Sure.
I mean, my parents, my family, and then of course, you know, later on, a few years later, meeting Buddy Guy at 8 years old, and that sort of being another stepping stone in my career, and that lasting about 10 or 11 years, and how that sort of shaped me. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot to do with the people that you're surrounded with. A lot of people are surprised now when they talk to me, like, how are you, you know, I get a lot of like, how do you have such a level head about this? You know, how do you just, you know, you're so like, you know, sort of easygoing. And I'm just like, well, A, that's my personality, and B, it's just because I've done this my whole life and I don't really know anything else. And it's just, to me, in my life, the way I've been living, it's been very normal. And I think sometimes it's a bit hard to see that from another point of view. Like, no, it's not necessarily normal, dude, that you've been able to like be on Ellen at 6 and play.
Yeah, that was the next thing we were going to talk about. Like, so then after this, you're at 6 and your parents are kind of putting it out there to different talk shows or what have you to you know, share this story. And Ellen Degeneres picks it up and brings you on. And a lot of people have seen it. And if you don't know that you've seen it, you might have, because when I went back, I was like, oh, I do remember this. But I think what's fascinating about it is you're already in the blues. Like, you get to play Twist and Shout, I believe. And then she brings you back after the break, which I don't know if that was a total plan, but she's like, what are you going to play for us now? And you just basically riffed a instrumental blues, and it totally ripped. Like, it was just this awesome thing of, again, like, the maturity of your playing of a blues, like, you know, because she even jokes, she's like, yeah, you've really seen some hard times,
right?
You know, at 6. But I think that's interesting, because that and then leads to the next steps. Oh wait, there was one other thing. If you haven't seen the end of that clip, she gifts you at the end of it a Gibson 335.
She does.
Which the look on your face when she does that for you is amazing. And that thing's bigger than you are at that time.
Yeah, I was
but,
looking. I was looking at my dad and my cousin. My cousin flew
Sure.
out for that too. My cousin Jillian. She had never been to California before, so it was one of those things where this is my dad's. It's my uncle Mike's daughter. And great experience for all of us. But yeah, I was looking at those two hanging out in the audience because my dad knew that they were going to give me the guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
And he played it totally cool. I had no, like, literally that is that face. And I feel like that's been sort of a meme, like, amongst my friends, like,
right, I'm sure.
ever since that happened. It's so funny.
Yeah.
When memes became a thing.
Yep.
And it's just hilarious to watch back. But yeah, that's really funny, man. Yeah, I still have the guitar too. And I still play it every now and again. I don't really bring it out much on the road, but
sure.
you know, that's a very, very special guitar for me. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, and it's a beast too. And then right after that is, again, it shows how you're into the blues. At a 7, that's where you get introduced to Buddy Guy music, right? And then you see he's going to play basically in your hometown, and you're like, I have to go see this show.
Yeah, I first heard Buddy Guy on a festival called Crossroads Guitar Festival, which Eric Clapton puts on.
Right.
And yeah, I got the DVD, I think, for something. I think my dad got it for me. And we put it on the TV and watching it, and I see Buddy Guy walk on stage. I see all these great guitar players. Obviously, I recognize Eric, and I recognize like Robert Cray and Jimmy Vaughn and all these different people. Hubert Sumlin was actually on that, which was pretty cool. The late great Hubert Sumlin. And I saw Buddy come on, and I was just immediately just mesmerized by his playing, and just and more so just his stage presence. I thought he just had such this conviction on stage that I wasn't really seeing on any of the other guys on stage. He really stuck out like a sore thumb. And yeah, I just remember watching it and being like, damn, that would be really cool to see that in person someday, you know?
Yeah. And then he's going to play by you. And I think it's important to tell this story too. He's a genuinely supportive of young musicians and will often pull a local young musician up on stage with him to play. And that was the opportunity that you got when he was performing nearby.
Exactly. I you know, and I figured that out after that he was doing that already. Yeah, so pretty much what happened was we found out a couple years after that he was coming to the Zeiterion Theater, which is a theater about 15 minutes from my house in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And he was coming down, and my dad and I got into the show, and we got backstage somehow. I think my dad had known some people working at the theater, so they arranged for us to go backstage, and I got to meet him. And I remember walking in his room, and he had like an American flag rugby shirt on. It was just like, that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, all right, this guy is cool as hell.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you know, and like just an absolute G. And he had this cool hat on.
Always, yeah.
And this gold jewelry. I remember he had these rings that said BG, and then he had another one right here. He had the gold watch, like the whole deal.
Yep.
And I just remember him being so gracious and so nice. And I had my guitar at the time for him to sign. I was hoping I'd get a signature. I was just this little kid. Oh, can you sign my guitar? I was very shy. I'd not probably said 3 words. I was not at all a talkative kid. And he made that joke. It's funny, you know, when we'd play together, he would say, man, you know, most kids, they get all excited. And Quinn was like, yeah, I can play, because he asked me if I could play.
Sure.
And I said, yeah. And I was probably just scared as hell.
Right. You were just answering the question. Yeah.
Yeah. But he, I think, took it as more of like just very nonchalant, saying, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah. Which is actually kind of funny. But anyways, he ended up calling me on stage that night, and I played the last half an hour of the show with him. And we played Sweet Home Chicago together. We played a couple other things, and we traded, as us guitar players say, we traded licks back and forth.
Yeah.
And
and a recording of that is on your channel, right? Like people can go watch that.
Yeah. It's got I think it's got almost like 10 million views or something. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's nuts. I like watch it sometimes, very occasionally, if someone pulls it up, I take a watch, I take a listen to it, and it's I mean, it never gets old, you know.
No, of course
Seeing
not.
that. But
Like
yeah, I mean
one of
that
the
moment seriously changed my whole life. I mean,
Sure.
I had been on Ellen, I had done some shows locally, but I'd never at 8 years old, I'd never been really on the road or anything like that,
Sure.
or played anywhere else besides where I was from. So after that, every time he would come, we'd go see him play,
Mm-hmm.
and he would take me backstage. You know, we would go backstage, and he would just be so friendly always and so
Sure.
cool. And then he would just have me go on stage every time. He would just have me sit in, and that happened a few times, and that kind of, you know, went into more of like a, hey, do you want to play on my record? I'm doing this
Yeah.
record called Skin Deep, and
That's
I really want you to be a
incredible.
part of it. And I was like, are you sure? You want me to be a part of this? You have
there
Eric
someone
Clapton,
standing
you have
behind
Derek
me?
Trucks, Susan Tedeschi, Robert Randolph. You have all these like incredibly talented artists playing, and you want this little 8-year-old kid. Okay. So
Yeah.
so I did it, and we went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I met Tom Hambridge for the first time, who
Sure.
would end
Mhm.
up being my producer of my next 3 records.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in and met Tom. We connected immediately because we were both diehard Beatles fans.
Right.
And I overdubbed my solo on a song called Who's Gonna Fill Those Shoes, which was a song about pretty much, you know, the classic tale of like the blues is dying, and like who's gonna save the blues and who's gonna be the next guy or whatever. So I
Right.
think they assumed that was appropriate to have me on, which it was at the time. And
Sure.
you know, so it was just it was an honor. I mean, it was a complete honor to be on his record and play. I still can't, when I see my name on that record, I still literally can't believe that I got to do that, you know. And then after that, that just trickled into opening for him and playing before he came out. So I would, at 9, I think was the first time that I ever opened up for him. It was in a place called Owington, Kentucky. And I remember Tom had written a couple of songs for me because Buddy wanted me to put out my own record at the time.
Mhm.
Right.
So when I was
Right.
11, so I put out a record called Cyclone.
Right. Yeah.
That was produced by Tom. And Tom and this other writing partner, Richard Fleming, pretty much wrote all the songs. I wasn't a songwriter at the time.
Right.
What life experience did I go through at 11 or 10? But yeah, I mean, like, so yeah, so that album was done in Nashville at this little studio. So anyways, I had material to tour with and play live finally, you know. And
Mhm.
so that's why Buddy thought it was a good idea for me to open some shows.
Yeah.
So I did that. I think I did 3 or 4 shows that summer of 2009 or 10.
Mhm.
And that was another moment that was a new thing. It was a new step.
Sure.
And just the wildest experience. I mean, you know, you're all of a sudden you're playing for, you know, 2,000 people and you're 10
Right.
years old. It's a crazy almost an imaginative thing. Like, you know,
Mhm.
you can't even imagine happening
Yeah.
at that age. So just amazing times. I mean, it's just
Yeah. I mean, you're
always,
basically a professional musician at 9 because now you
yeah.
have that like you have gigs and albums, and you know you're out there as a performer, and it's just, that's an incredible start. Like, and that's just the beginning. We haven't even gotten to some of the other very cool stuff, but that, I mean, it's just such a very like the little chip away at it a little bit at a time, but through just such a meteoric, very quick rise through, and you know, I just think it's such a very cool thing to just reflect back on and look at it. I mean, it was just a neat thing, and we're just so happy to have you on tonight to share all that.
Oh yeah.
So 2011 is Cyclone, and then 2014 is the album Getting There. And this at this point, you're going to play at Madison Square Garden at that Eric Clapton,
The Crossroads Festival.
the Crossroads Festival, right?
Yeah.
At 14.
Did that really happen? Yeah. No, it did. Yeah. I mean, and that was a full circle moment for me because,
Sure.
you know, that was the first time I had ever seen a lot of those guys on anything, and on any sort of record or DVD. I mean, that was the first time I saw a lot of those guys, and obviously Buddy specifically. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I remember I was playing Lollapalooza. I was playing the kids stage. That's the summer of 2012, or maybe it was ACL. It was one of those festivals. I remember
Sure.
I was playing a festival, and Buddy's manager comes up to me and he just says, "You're playing Crossroads," and just straight face. And I said, "No, I'm not." And he was like, "Yeah, you are. We got you on the show." It was a bit of a. I think, if I can be honest, I think it was a bit. I think Eric was a bit reluctant at first because he was just like, "Who's this little kid that he's bringing to my festival?" Which totally understandable. Totally get that. But I'm happy that he took a chance on a little 14-year-old kid, because it was the most amazing time and experience of my whole life. I mean, that changed so much for me. As far as my career goes, I think a lot of good things seem to happen after that. Just because it's Crossroads. I mean, it's one of the biggest guitar events of like the whole year when it happens.
Yeah.
I think he does it every few years. Does it like every 4 or 5 years. But I got to meet a lot of my heroes. I got to meet. I met Eric. I met Greg Allman, which was really, really, really cool.
That's cool.
I think I've seen Keith Richards. I've seen John Mayer. People like
I met a lot of really cool people. I remember I went into the sound check. Buddy doesn't do sound checks, by the way, so Buddy was not here at this time. Buddy's just classic. I show up for the show and that's it.
Right. This is the show you get, and this is what it sounds like.
Yeah, like I know I'm the boss. Like, you don't need to. You know what I sound like. And we walk in and Mayer's doing a sound check and stuff, and we were with a mutual friend. Buddy has this really good friend that I'm also friends with, this guy Chuck, who is a photographer and also just one of Buddy's best friends, and also now one of my best friends too. He's a wonderful guy, and I was with him, and we came in, and it was like I said, Mayer was doing his thing, and he knew John just from over the years, and I'm a big John Mayer fan. I'm a huge fan of his, and it's pretty amazing because he walked off out of his sound check. He was done and he was getting ready to leave, and Chuck kind of bumps him on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, this little kid Quinn, he's playing with Buddy today. He wants to meet you." And John looked at me, and he'd like seen me before. He was like, "Oh yeah, man, I've like seen you all over YouTube playing and stuff. You sound great." And like I was like, "What?" So all these things are happening like at the same time. Like I'm playing this festival, and John Mayer's saying that he's heard of me before. All this crazy stuff, and it's just wild. I mean, it's like, what do you even say?
Right. It's like bonkers moment after bonkers moment, and it's like
and
then what is it, like 40,000 people are there for that?
I think it's like 20,000 or something. Okay. Yeah, it's just a lot. I mean. Yeah, and the stage on
say 40. What it's just amongst
40,
us friends.
50, 60, whatever.
You can't see past the first 5 rows with the lights anyway when you're on the stage.
No. Yeah. So that's happening. So everything's happening, and then as we're getting ready for the show, John Mayer and Keith Urban are playing before us, and then the Allman Brothers are playing after us. So talk about a lineup. It's John Mayer, Keith Urban, Buddy Guy, me, and Robert Randolph was also playing.
Wow, awesome.
And then the Allman Brothers come out, and it's just mayhem. It's insane.
Right.
And
I mean, like, it's an incredible feat that you didn't soil yourself at 14. Like, let alone rip the guitar, and keeping up with all those guys, which you absolutely did.
Yeah, I think my dad might have, but I don't think I did. Both my parents actually got to be there, which was really, really special.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
Yeah. And anyway, so the stage revolves at those festivals. A lot of times they'll do that because they have to set the next band up that's playing after, so it's an easier stage shift or change or whatever. So I'm hearing John Mayer and Keith Urban playing "Don't Let Me Down" by the Beatles, which are my favorite band of all time. And I'm just like having this like holy shit moment. I'm just like, what is happening?
Right.
And then the stage revolves, and I just remember looking out and seeing 20,000 people and just going, "Don't mess this up." Whatever you do,
don't suck.
Don't mess this up. And we played a few songs. We played about a half an hour, and Buddy gave me a ton of solos and was just like the best like ever,
I'm sure.
And gave me a lot of time. And it was a great honor to be able to do that. And just one of those once in a lifetime sort of moments. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I mean, and again, that's why I was saying before, like each one is like a progression where any one of those would be someone's like 15 minutes, and it just keeps one-upping itself. So I can't wait until you become president, cure cancer, and fly to Mars. Because this is just going to keep going. But yeah, so I mean, there's that amazing moment, and then I'm just keeping with the albums here, but you could please fill in anything else you'd want to. But 2017 is the album Midnight Highway.
Yeah,
and I feel like, so now totally correct me, but like to me, this is a step in maturity as well, as far as the I don't want to say the word quality, but like the songwriting, who you are as a musician starts to hit a maturity. That's probably a better term. You're hitting a whole other sound at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, well, at that point I had started writing a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, I started writing songs probably at like 16. That's probably when I started to get into the craft of songwriting. And I never really thought of myself as a songwriter. I mean, up until that point, I just knew that it was something that I was interested in and getting into. And I knew that I had a passion for it. Because I was like, man, like I love all of these songs that I listen to, and why can't I do that too? And
yeah.
So I gave it a try. I wrote like 3 or 4 songs. I co-wrote 3 or 4 songs with Tom on that record.
Cool.
It was my first time sort of having a creative, I guess you could say, creative control on an album.
Yeah.
So it was a big moment for me,
Definitely.
being able to do that, because for so long you're known as like just this quote unquote prodigy or whatever, and
Right.
That's the way people see you, and that sort of gets you to a certain level of success. And then it's like, okay, well, what do you sound like, and how what's your voice, I guess.
Finding your voice is exactly. I mean, it's odd that you say that. You would have been just about a time also when your voice would have changed at this point in time.
Yeah, right.
Well
literally,
too. So
literally and metaphorically. Yeah.
So I'm sure you actually had to find how to, I don't want to say re-sing, but definitely revisit the instrument of singing.
Oh yeah,
because that's a huge challenge.
Totally changed.
The equipment changes on you.
Yep.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, I remember a couple of times on stage where it was like very noticeable, and my voice would just crack in the middle of the song, and I would like I'd walk off stage and I'd be so mad at myself. I'd be like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or why did this happen? I mean, it's just like a lot of musicians are like that. You just get really in your head about it, and so that was a struggle for me for sure. But I found myself.
Artists are always beating themselves up for missing one little thing that no one would ever notice.
We're our worst critic. I mean, but yeah, I started seeing some vocal coaches actually during that time, because I needed to, just to sort of navigate that and try to be able to sing right, and
even preserve it, so that you don't blow out your vocal cords and not able to finish a tour or something.
There's so many like scientific. I don't really know the terms, but there's a lot of science words that are used when the anatomy of your voice. It's just a lot. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, the structure of your vocal cords is extraordinarily complex, and there are people that are actually experts at that are wonderful. Like you said, you went and got help when you needed it, which was smart.
Yeah, I learned a ton. I mean, I just learned a ton, and I really learned that your voice has a lot of moving parts, and if you do it the wrong way, it can be really harmful. So
big time.
So yeah, so I got a lot of knowledge with that, and I still do go or definitely do some YouTube lessons and stuff with people, and
neat.
and I definitely still keep up to date with that stuff, because it's always something that you have to be constantly working on. So
yeah, totally.
But yeah, I was able to get through that okay, and I'm still growing as a singer. I mean, I think I've grown a ton from when I was about like 16 to now. I mean, I definitely feel more comfortable now than I used to. I never had like a fear of singing live, but I definitely look at old clips or hear old stuff of me and go, yeah, you didn't sound confident at that time. And then it's just like natural. I mean, you're 16, 17, and there's so many other things happening in your life. And so it's like you're going through all this stuff. And so I feel like, as hearing myself back, I can hear those things,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I do want to bring in a little more music here, because I'm sure people want to catch a little more flavor of Quinn. And one of the tracks on this album, which, I know that the title track, Midnight Highway, is the more popular one and there. But there's always been one that caught my ears as I've been doing like the research and stuff. But Something for Me is just something that I really liked. And I think there's some stuff in the video that as we watch this, I wanted to kind of bring up as well to get your take on. So from the Midnight Highway album in 2017, here is Quinn Sullivan's Something for Me. To me, you're bringing in some of this more kind of rougher blues, like a little more like outlaw type sound to it. Which again, I think is part of that maturity.
I think so. Yeah. This was cool. Forgot about the video.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say here, and none of this is meant as anything other than just to point it out, is, in my opinion, and you haven't yet hit the guitar. And you're feeling like this, in my impression, you look a little bit like an awkward 16-year-old. Like, I don't, my shoes were either too small or too big because I just grew 3 steps. But here, as soon as this guitar kicks in, you're completely comfortable. Like, you're in your element. It's this amazing thing. All the confidence comes in and all this other stuff where you're just like, when I have this guitar and I'm ripping, it's just, you're like a superhero. Like, it's a really cool thing.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. I mean, like, yeah. No, you're totally right. It's funny, I always had a huge problem with this video because my guitar's not plugged in.
Yeah.
I remember I gave the director so much shit about it. I was like, my guitar's not plugged in. What are you doing? This isn't real. But like, I accepted it. I accepted it for what it was. But,
right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, totally, man. I mean, I've always felt so comfortable, like, once a guitar is in my hands. I just did an event recently in Soho, New York called Soho Sessions.
Sure.
And it was my first time. I played a song with the guitar, and then I played, we did a finale, and we were doing Love the One You're With by Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Nice.
And there was no more inputs on the amps. There was so I had to go up there and just sing. And I was like totally out of my comfort zone. I was honestly a bit nervous to do it. But like after I did it, I was like, oh, this is like not that bad. But the guitar for me has always been my safe haven,
Yeah. And it's so, like I said, I was just funny watching the video because I was just like, first of all, I love the song. And then I saw that moment where it just starts to kick in. I'm like, oh, there he is. Until that moment, it was just like, oh, gee, golly whiz. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm a blues rock star.
Well, it also, with the guitar, gives you something to do with your hands.
True.
When, like, that's what singers always have to figure out. It's like, what do I do with these things the whole time?
Yeah.
Right,
and even just 16-year-olds are just, not sure what to do with their hands. And, it's just part of that. But yeah, it's even as a performer, it's back to that part of, like, I got these things here, but with a guitar there.
Sure.
David's got a great point. Very, very cool song. The whole album's great. Some more comments coming in on the chat here where people are loving this album. Even people asking the question, was this the first music video?
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, we shot this one, and then we shot Midnight Highway.
Arabian gets 500 points right there.
I'm lying, actually. Midnight Highway was technically the first video, but we shot this one very, very close after. We shot this back to back in like 2 months. This was shot in Brooklyn, actually. See the Brooklyn Bridge.
You can see the Brooklyn Bridge. I was just going to mention that. You can see the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone from Boston's super pissed right now.
Oh, everybody, yeah. Oh, yeah. I lost in Boston.
Winnie, what are you doing?
Yeah. Why you trading sides?
Yeah, you got to come down to the harbor.
Go park the car.
Yeah, exactly. But we were going to let this play here because, again, it's just so fun to watch you play. And what I wanted to make sure we get to here is this other very, very amazingly cool moment that happens is I think it's IFC Films decides to do a documentary about Buddy Guy, but about what you were talking about before, where it's his hope to pass the blues off to the next generation. And primarily you. Like, you're very much the feature of that movie. It's Buddy, and then you. And then a lot of other famous people too. But like, it's called The Torch. I have an image here of the cover to bring that up there. And it's very much it's a wonderful documentary. It's amazing to hear about what Buddy's life was from when he was a kid all the way up and through, and what he had to endure and what his family had to endure. And then just how he learned from Muddy Waters and lots of other blues legends, and they passed things off to him. And then he was looking to where he was going to pass things off to someone like yourself. And just, I would love to hear a little bit more about that, because again, that just all these moments again of just simply saying, we're going to do a documentary about Buddy Guy handing off basically the mantle of carrying the blues on so that it doesn't die to Quinn Sullivan.
It's a heavy load. It's a heavy load. Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
And, first of all, I mean, being part of that documentary and being part of that whole time in my life. I mean, it was just a joy. I mean, it's
right.
It will forever be, one of the best experiences ever that I don't think anybody really could experience. And it's so unique. First of all, of like how long it lasted, and also getting to know him not only on like a professional level, but also getting to know him on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
I always said that whenever you go see Buddy, it's like going into a history course, because every time that you go see him, he's always telling a story about something in his life. And I'm so glad that someone said, hey, we should make a film about this, because this is incredible. And this is like, stuff that should be in the history books and in U.S. history classes in high school,
Yep.
And so I was really happy that they did that. This guy, Jim Farrell, directed it, and he followed us around with a camera crew for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
From the time I was about 15 to about 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And they went all around Europe with us. They went to India with us, because I had gone to India a couple times to play a festival there. And I'm just so happy that everything is documented and I can go back to it and watch it and see it, because that was it was almost like such a time capsule of like that time in my life. And it's really cool to be able to see it back and see, because like you forget sometimes of some of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like the important stuff. I mean, it's all important, but the little things that you sometimes might forget, you can just rewind it and see it. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. So I actually have the trailer. I'm going to share it here, and then you can continue to talk about it on the other side, because I bet you it's going to trigger some other stories or memories for you. So here's the trailer for The Torch.
Blues. Where did it come from? Nobody knows. Blues songs tell you a story. Some of them about the good and some of them about the bad, which is life.
Buddy Guy, right this way, folks.
I grew up on a plantation in Louisiana. I didn't know what a guitar was until I got a certain age. I would take 4 nails and try to tie it in a kind of wire to make it so I could hear.
Buddy Guy he's a revelation. He is the Moses of the blues. He literally parts the sea. He's the one that created a certain frequency, a certain vocabulary. Jimi Hendrix would tell you, man, it wouldn't be me without this cat,
I didn't really know about Buddy Guy. And when I dove into him, I started going to record stores and finding out about a lot of artists that I didn't know existed. I was like, why don't we know about these people? Why aren't they played on the radio?
No, it ain't easy. This traveling life.
Buddy wants to inspire as many young people to do what he's doing. Whoever he hears about, come on up and play.
Quinn, he got to be one of the best guitar players I ever heard.
Buddy still views himself as the kid among Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, because he was the kid.
Hey, buddy, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm hanging in there,
Sounding awesome, man.
Hopefully I can get Quinn and a few more young people to hang on so the young generation of people will know, this is where it came from. Buddy used to tell me, in case who died first, Don't let the blues die. The Wolf told me that. Junior used to tell me that.
So from that group, who's still left?
Me. Music speaks in all languages. I'm just blessed to be able to play guitar well enough for somebody to listen. I made up Muddy Waters, I promise. I got to keep on picking.
So there is the trailer to The Torch, IFC Films. Thank you for letting us play that. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't recommend enough. If you're a fan of music, period, but let alone the blues, Buddy, Quinn, any of it, you're going to love that documentary. So I would highly recommend finding a place to check it out. Any other stories come to mind as you were watching some of that back?
Oh man. Well, if anybody decides to watch it, or if anybody has watched it, there's a lot of stuff of us playing together in places in Europe, and that was like one of my first times touring in Europe. And we played the Montreux Jazz Festival there, which is one of the biggest jazz festivals in the world. We get to play this place called the Olympia, which is a very famous theater in Paris, which actually I was nerding out when I was there, because that's where a lot of Europe 72 was recorded, the Grateful Dead live record that came out. And so that was pretty cool. And we played a lot of really cool. We played a jazz festival in Umbria, Italy. That was really cool. So yeah, those are like some of the things that come to mind on that. That was a very special tour. And yeah, it was pretty wild to be on tour. I was like 16 or something. It was in the summer of like 2016, I think. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So cool. So very cool. Yeah, and like you said, I think the closing kind of thought there is what you shared earlier, is that thank goodness somebody took the time to put down Buddy's life story, and his commitment to the blues and to the people before him. I love this one moment where he shares. Someone was asking him a question about like, oh, how did you write this lick? And he goes, I didn't write it. Muddy taught it to me, and somebody taught Muddy, and somebody taught that guy. And he's like, this is just, it's the legacy of the blues is the beauty of it. It's not the originality of a song or a lick or whatever. It's more how you're being basically treated to this long history of just super talented musicians.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, when you guys were talking about, like, because that's always been sort of the story. It's like, well, here you go, and you have to carry this weight on your shoulder and continue on this genre of music. And I think Buddy never expected me, to be the torch bearer of the blues. I think Buddy just wanted me to
right.
I think do it, just do my thing and play
to
guitar.
Help not let it die, along with
of course, and
right
along the way. I mean, part of finding your voice is finding what you want to say in song, and like what kind of music you want to play. And I think for me, I've always just been a fan of music in general. I mean, I'm a fan of not only the blues, but I'm a fan of a ton of different kinds of music. I didn't really know what the blues was until I discovered Buddy Guy. I wasn't really listening to it growing up, so all of the stuff that I ended up learning about through Buddy, like B.B. King, like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and Sonny Boy Williams, and all those guys. It was, like I said, it was like being in a history class, just learning about all of this stuff. And eventually they seep into your influence, and they seep into your taste and what you like. But I think for me, I feel like as an artist, I'm always just like evolving and trying to kind of reach new ground and territory and stuff, and trying to just stay inspired of what's inspiring me at the moment. And I think the music that I'm making now, the music that's on the last album, Wide Awake, is more contemporary style of music, I would say, and more of the sound that Quinn Sullivan is bringing to the table, and it feels really good. It feels it's gratifying to feel that, and
you mentioned
and to keep the blues thing in the back of your head, and always continue to do that. But push it forward, because
Yeah.
a lot of younger people don't know about the blues, and they don't know the importance of it. They don't know that it's like the original. They would like there wouldn't be like, hip hop and rap without that style of music.
For sure.
So it's fun to come into a party or whatever amongst my friends and go, hey, let me give you a little history lesson on music. It's kind of cool, honestly. It's really it's kind of nice because it makes them think. It makes them think, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Whether they care or not, but at least they know. And if I can spread that knowledge, I'm happy.
Oh, totally. And even some of the rock and roll, like some of the stuff that actually in the documentary they talk about, Buddy Guy kind of introduces, some of those rock and roll musicians in England.
Yeah.
Like Clapton or what have you, is going, wow, I just never realized you could play like that on an electric guitar. And then boom, it kind of helps them move over into a whole new genre of rock and roll and really kind of explode.
100%. And there'd be no, there'd be no Clapton, there'd be no Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan without Buddy. He's like I think Carlos said it in the documentary, like he's like I forget what he said, but he just kind of said, I think I'm paraphrasing, but he sort of just said the guy that sort of bridged the gap between the old school blues guys and the new guys. Buddy's like that guy that kind of glues it all together,
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned finding your voice. You mentioned the new album. Pardon me. One of the things about the new album, and you had hinted at this with the Midnight Highway discussion, we were talking about that, is your songwriting takes a much stronger forefront on this album. You're credited on almost every track on this one as a songwriter. Is that correct?
Yeah, every single one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, which is a big leap forward for you.
Huge. I think creatively that's been like the absolute biggest leap forward, I think, for me, is being a co-writer on every song. And it's something that I've always wanted to do, but I never felt like I was really ready to do it up until this point. And so that was a thrilling experience to be a part of every song. And I think naturally they just mean more to you when you play them live and when you're talking about them and stuff, because you have everything to do with them. And they're my stories, and it's all, I mean, there's really no like process that I have when writing, but it's just, I mean, you're writing from your heart, you're writing from personal experience and things that happen to you or things that you hear about. And so yeah, every single one of those songs on Wide Awake is has to do with something in my life that I went through along the way. So it's really cool. And stylistically, it's sort of all over the place. I mean, you have funk, you have rock, you've got some elements of pop, you have the blues, you have rock, soul. I mean, it's kind of like just a whole mashup of different kind of things. And that was purposeful. I mean, I wanted to do that because I wanted to sort of give people people that may have thought of me as like, just a blues guitar player. I wanted people to see that I was a bit more than that. And I had a lot more to kind of showcase to people, and show people what else I was interested in and wanted to say.
Yeah, we worked with a different producer on this album, correct? From your first three, that's a change too for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of changes. Oliver Lieber produced Wide Awake, and Oliver's a great friend and an incredible songwriter and really great producer. And we did the whole record actually at his home studio where he lives in Studio City, California.
Wow. Nice.
Which he calls Hollywood Studios, which is funny.
Nice. I mean, as soon as you hear it, you're like, wow, that coins itself.
Clever.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did the whole. We wrote most of it at his studio, and recorded the whole thing in about 6 to 8 months. And then the whole album itself, mixing, mastering, took about 1.5 years up until completion. And then, of course, we all went into lockdown.
Yeah, there was a thing that happened.
There's a thing that happened, and before we go into that, luckily we did have the whole thing 95% finished before COVID lockdown.
Nice.
So yeah, so we finished the record in January of 2020. So we were just
a whole 8 weeks of like
I
time
know,
there.
totally. Yeah, we had the world was our oyster.
Yeah.
And so like we did that and we finished it. So when everything happened, obviously I was bummed out like everybody else, but I was like, all right, well, we are sitting on an album here that's not the worst place in the world to be. I mean, some people had world tours that got canceled
sure.
and a lot more catastrophe kind of events than my situation at the time. So I was happy about that, but it sucked because selfishly I'm like, damn, I want to put this out now and I can't because I can't tour it. I can't promote it the way I want to, the way the record company wants to. And so waited a whole year and a half to put out Wide Awake. So we ended up putting it out in June of 2021.
Got it.
So we waited a long time for that. But you know, the upside to that, or the silver lining to that, was I was able to think about the tunes more. I was able to revise some things.
Neat.
I was able to overdub stuff from my house.
Sure.
I was able to like really the guy that mixed it, Joe Zook, was able to take more of his time mixing, and it just gave everybody more time really to just sit with it, whether that's good or not. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But we didn't really have anything but time, so
might as well take it.
So might as well use it creatively, you know. So we just sat around and really thought about these songs, and you know, just spent some time sequencing them. We wanted to make sure everything was right, the artwork was right, everything sort of tied together. The sequence was very important to me. I wanted every song to sort of flow.
Sure.
It's not a concept album by any means, but
still connect the
you're telling a story.
Sound, sound wise,
sonically,
and sonically, I just wanted
tempos,
it to sort of,
things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think the videos are amazing. Like we shared In a World Without You to start. There's another video for How Many Tears. That's a beautiful video.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then we're going to share after the credits. We're going to play All Around the World in the video for that. So, you know, I just know if you want to talk a moment about the different videos, because we've been kind of commenting on that throughout. Is like the video it's somewhat of a lost art. Like there used to be a time when people would sit around and watch music videos, and then it's kind of gone. So it's great to see an artist still have that in their repertoire.
Yeah, the whole MTV wave seems to be forgotten now. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, we worked with this guy, actually, this director, Trevor Banks, on every single video. He directed every video. We just loved him. We loved the way he worked. He worked the first video that we did was the All Around the World video. And I met Trevor for the first time, and I really liked his vibe. I like working with him, and he's easy guy to sort of you know, just riff ideas off of and stuff, and made it very comfortable to work in. Sometimes music videos can be a bit you know, just what's the word? Just kind of like stiff at times. Sure. So when you work with someone that's totally like opposite of that, it's a breath of fresh air. So it's nice to work with someone like that, and someone that knew how to like make me look cool.
We should
make me look like a cool 20 at the time. I was like 21 or something, 21-year-old kid. It's cool to work with a guy like that really kind of got me visually. So yeah, I mean, the All Around the World video is pretty much this sort of the car is like the all American vibe of the song, because the song is about I wrote it before the pandemic, before everything happened, before all of the crazy political things were happening. So it's not a political song at all. It's more of just a reflection song of like really just like the opening lines, like I'm not the man I was yesterday. And it's just about change. It's about me, really. It's about me changing my feeling about life. I'm getting older. I'm seeing other things. I'm experiencing other things. I'm feeling these different emotions. You know, that's just me sort of just saying, hey, like, people change. I'm changing. That was me then, and this is me now. And that was really the reason why I wanted it to be the lead single and the first thing people hear. I mean, also I hadn't put out music in like 4 years too, so it was a long time. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be that long, but it just ended up being like that.
Yeah, it was. And the best plan for you. I agree. So, I think that song is it's like an anthem. Like it's very much a I guess like a coming of age ish kind of thing, but it's very universal. Like it really can connect with everyone. Like it's not just about something so specific. Yeah. And once COVID happened and once everything else began to unfold, I was just like, well, this really resonates now with people, and or with me anyways. And I think
hopefully it'll resonate with other people too. And so yeah, we just put it out. I talked to my team about it, and they were all like, yeah, this is the best thing I think you could do right now. Best
Awesome.
song you could put out.
Sure.
And so yeah, we put it out, and it did well on YouTube. The video, I think, has got almost 200,000 views,
Nice.
and people seem to be digging on it.
It's got
and,
like a Laurel Canyon thing going on that I pick up.
Oh,
From
yeah,
it.
I could agree with- yeah.
maybe that's not intentional, but that's definitely
Sure.
seems to show its face to me there.
Yeah, well, definitely musically for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
I had a lot. I mean, because inspiration wise, I was drawing from a whole array of different kinds of music on this new album, and yeah, I mean the sound of Laurel Canyon is a huge inspiration to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, quick music nerd question. Maybe I'm picking this up the wrong way on the album. There's some cool guitar tones on this album. You're playing something cooler on this album than your like road gear, which obviously is because you only have so much you can take with you on the road. So what was the coolest piece of gear you got to use on this album? Because there's some cool guitar tones on this thing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Man, where do I start? Well, Oliver has a huge collection of guitars, and amps and effects and all that stuff. And so the first few sessions that we did together, I was just sort of nerding out on everything that he had.
Sure.
He would take out these
It's a
old
candy store
guitars that-
factor.
Oh my God, yeah. I wish I had the video to show you. It's just everywhere you look, there's a cool instrument or a cool piece of gear. So I got to use a couple of cool guitars. I'll mention the 59 Burst Les Paul.
59 Les Paul, very nice.
It's actually used on All Around the World, and a very nerdy statement. The solo that I played on it is actually the solo from the demo. So I tried to do like 5 more takes of that solo, and I was like, I just kept going back to the demo. And sometimes
it's the lightning in the bottle factor.
Yep.
You just it
Totally.
just happens.
There are and there's so many times. I think honestly, I'm actually about to make a new record actually in August, and we have a lot of demos rolling, and I'm hearing all of this guitar stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to change any of that. Like, I feel like
Right.
like a lot of times for me when I'm in the studio, like once we write the song and once we demo it, a lot of times you can't really get anything better than that.
Sure.
Vocally, you probably can, and sometimes vocally you do it, but guitar wise, that inner feeling of when you're playing it for the first time, especially if you're soloing on a melody or a chord progression for the
Sure.
first time, it's so fresh in your mind. So I think sometimes when you go back to it, you might not be as inspired. You may
Yeah.
still like it, but you're not as inspired by it. So
Sure.
for me, that's the way I seem to do it, and seem to be like, historically seems to be the way that I've done it. So
That's so cool.
yeah.
So before we get to promoting some things, I wanted to share some of the comments coming in here. Stacy shared Love All Around the World. It came out during a time when we all needed to hear good vibes. Lori says, I love seeing the videos. Cindy says, love Wide Awake. Jay wants to know, when do we all get a chance to ride in the new tour van?
Wow.
Cindy says, any chance you get down to Hudson Valley?
Oh my gosh. Well, we actually just had a show that was supposed to be in Hudson Valley in Marlboro, New York, at the Falcon that just it got canceled.
That's what they were saying. Yeah, so bummed the Falcon had to close
canceled.
last weekend.
Yeah. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, But we're gonna be back there. We're gonna be announcing a new date there soon. So
cool.
Anybody asking about that, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Yep. And then there's tons of great comments. You'll have to check it all out because, like Donna says, Wide Awake is a great album. Love every song so much. Wide Awake, love it. Please keep the blues alive. There's lots of cool commentary in here. You're gonna love checking that out. So, thank you all for in the comments there. So, wanted to make absolutely. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and for sharing your thoughts. It's been such a fun ride here. Before we wrap, I want to make sure that we promote some stuff. So I'm gonna bring up your website, and if you want to kind of lead around, this is a very cool site with.
Oh, sweet, man.
Yeah. So here's some shows coming up. I wanted to specifically point out the Peach Festival because that's basically kind of here about an hour and a half from where we are, and I'm planning on checking that out. So I got to make sure I try and get there for Thursday, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, we're playing. That's actually wrong.
Okay.
We actually have to change that. That we were playing on July, I believe we're playing July 1st.
It's like a Saturday.
Playing Saturday night.
Got it.
Yeah, Saturday. I think to be exact, I think we're playing at 6.
Got it.
But anybody that's going to Peach, everybody should just, get the 3-day pass and just go all 3 days, because
Sure.
You don't want to miss any of those people.
It's a
playing.
great
Yeah,
stellar
the lineup
lineup.
this
Yeah,
year
I mean,
is kind of bananas.
Exactly.
It's insane. It's Tedeschi Truck Spin, My Morning Jacket, and all these incredible people.
Les Claypool. Lots of fun stuff.
A lot of cool music. Yeah.
Anything else we can promote in here? So that's that. You got your music in here. We did all that. They can get to the socials here. And here's some of the YouTube videos. Again, those are very, very cool videos. There's all 3 of them that we were talking about. So you can just check them out right there.
Yeah.
Anything else we can promote? Merch? Can we sling some merch here?
Oh man, we actually I had so many people on this last tour say, "Where are your t-shirts?" And we're making t-shirts. We'll have them very soon. We're ordering them as we speak. So we'll have those available soon on the website and also at live shows. So you guys will be able to get those and stuff. But yeah, I mean, just if you guys if anybody listening or watching hasn't listened to the new record yet, it's called Wide Awake, and it's streaming everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere that you love to stream or listen to music, it's available.
It's out there.
And,
there's some live cuts of things too. I remember checking that out on Spotify.
There is. Yeah. And also I just put out if anybody's watching, go on my YouTube channel. I've got some new live videos that we just put out from this venue in Plymouth, Mass called the Spire Center. And that's a show that we did in October, and it came out really well, and we got it mixed and stuff. And anyways, put out some live videos of some of the new songs so people can see what it kind of, because what I like to do live is almost like turn the song inside out. Like I'd like to play it a bit differently than the record. I never do any guitar solo the same way every night. Nice. Everything's different. There's certain songs that you have to play the same sort of line or whatever because it's part of the song. Right. But as far as when I'm doing my solos, it's just all free form. Everything's just a very big just a place to improvise. But
like
so anyways,
Blues Titan, it's got to be different every time.
It's got to be different. But yeah, anybody watching, go check those out. I've got a few of those out now, and look out for us on the road. We're coming to a city near you. We're about to announce a bunch of stuff this summer and fall, and awesome. Currently working on some new music. So
that's exciting too.
It's all just staying busy. Yeah,
for sure. And this will also be a podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast, in the show notes will be all of the links to everything, so you can check that stuff out as well. So Quinn Sullivan, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys. This has been such a fun time for me. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all your stories and for letting us share your music, and definitely hope to be able to say hello at the Peach Festival.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, come say hey.
I will definitely do that. I'll be the one wearing a t-shirt. All right. Thanks so much, Quinn.
Love it. Thank you.
David.
Phillip.
That was an amazing, it
was a nice conversation.
So great. Great. And like we talked about, just such a humble guy for being so talented and having had so many amazing life experiences already at 24.
Well, the thing that I think is remarkable, I mean, we can talk about the young age stuff, and there's I get the fact that there's a bit of an amazement factor of watching a small kid do that, but he's now still 24. Think about all of what he still has to offer, and it's going to be great to see where, as an artist, he gets to grow and change and challenge us as fans.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
We experience the new stuff he's going to put out, and I'm waiting for his combination Dark Side of the Moon, Sgt. Pepper's album that's going to probably drop. That's also 7 discs long.
That's exactly right. Yes, for sure. And don't forget to stay tuned after the credits. We're going to play All Around the World for everybody.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
Episode of Your Next Favorite Band, we'd like to sincerely thank Quinn Sullivan for joining us and just regaling us with all these amazing stories and some cool little tidbits there about the guitar solos being the original demo version. I mean, that's just such very, very cool stuff. And we'll have links to all of his socials, his website, Bandcamp, Spotify, everything, including links to where you can catch that documentary, The Torch. It seems like it's out there, YouTube and Amazon Prime, to be able to be purchased for viewing. But as always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you happen to be already a huge fan of Quinn Sullivan and you tuned in, thank you so much. We hope that you might like and subscribe and follow us so that you might be able to catch your next favorite band. We do this weekly, and so hopefully you might catch a future episode or all of them and be able to continue your music discovery path with us. And if you have a recommendation on who you think our next favorite band should be, let us know. Send us an email or comment, a DM on the socials, and hope we can catch a live show together soon.
It's all over now.
But in the darkness I see light. I see the people in the shadows.